Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Unity on the River's virtual Sunday service for October 4th. I am Rev Ogun, Senior Minister, and so grateful that you've chosen to watch this service today or whatever day you're watching it. Let's begin with a center in prayer. So if you're comfortable, I invite you to close the eyes. Simply take a deep breath and take another one and allow yourself to center into where that breath takes you. And let it take you into your heart space. Let it take you into a place for this moment, beyond fear, beyond concern, beyond worry, beyond all things that tell us the frightened parts of us are activated. And as we continue our journey of spiritual partnerships, let us choose in this moment and every moment to be centered in the loving parts of ourselves, the parts that open our hearts, the parts that seek joy, the parts that live from love and equanimity. This is who we're here to be. And in today's service, we come together to sing, to connect, to remember that truth, that we are here to be the embodiment and expression of love, of God. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen and amen. So today, we've got a full house of folks. We've got our music director, Meg Rain. Lynn is back. Yay, Lynn. We got the boys in the shed, and you notice we got an extra person today. Mickey is joining us. She's going to be sharing with us a little bit more in our new segment I'm calling Community Corner, where we get to hear from some folks in our community. And if you want to participate in this, I'll give you some more information about how to do that later. But for right now, let's get to the singing. I'm turning it over to the boys in the shed. Take it away, Brian and Keith. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Go!
Ready. If my words did glow with the gold of sunshine, and my tunes they were played on a harp unstrung, would you hear my voice come through the music? Would you hold it near as it were your own? Now the thoughts are broken, and perhaps they're better left unsung. I don't know, don't really care. Let there be songs to fill the air. Ripple in still waters, when there is no pebble tossed, no winds to blow. Shout. If your cup is empty, if your cup is full, may it be again. There is a fountain that was not made by the hands of men. There is a road, no simple highway. It's between the dawn and the dark of night. And if you go, no one may follow. That path is for your steps alone. Ripple in still waters, pebble tossed, no wind to blow. You choose to lead, must follow. But if you fall, you fall alone. If you should stand, and who's to guide you? If I knew the way, well, I would take you home. La da 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 da, la da 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 da, la da 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 da, da 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 da, la da 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 da.
I love that song. The great turning. So we turn to compassion and community. And Shambhala, the place of deep peace and understanding. Shambhala, Shambhala. Turn to your neighbors and turn to your friends. Turn to your family and kiss them, and then turn to the sun and turn to the land. Turn, turn, turn. To the earth and turn to the sky. Turn to your garden and plant your corn high. Turn to the winged ones the animals call. Turn, turn, turn to the all in the great turn. Great turning. Shambhala, 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 Shambhala. Shambhala, 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 Shambhala. Turn to your heart and turn to your mind. Turn to compassion within sight and find. Turn to community, reach out to care. Turn, turn, turn and share in the great turning. The great turning. Shambhala, Shambhala, Shambhala. Shambhala, 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 Shambhala. Shambhala, 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 Shambhala.
And let us continue that great turn-in by turning within. Turning within and becoming centered in our heart space, into the Christ nature that we are. And one of the ways we continue to do that is through some time in the silence. So let us prepare ourselves for a time of turning within, the guided meditation, some time in the silence. So wherever you are, whenever you are, I invite you to become comfortable now, whether you're seated, you're lying down. Just gently close the eyes, allow the body to become still as we let Meg take us in with a chant.
This is a beautiful Sanskrit chant, Namo Kuan Yin Pusa. It's Kuan Yin is the great goddess of compassion. So let's just breathe into our hearts and remember that compassion leads us to even deeper love. Namo Kuan Yin Pusa. 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 Namo Kuan Yin. Deep compassion to all sentient beings. Compassion for all suffering. Deep compassion for all, forever. Namo Kuan Yin Pusa. Namo Kuan Yin Pusa. Namo Kuan Yin Pusa. Namo Kuan Yin Pusa.
So let us continue to center ourselves by connecting with the breath. Simply allow the body to breathe as it naturally would. And allow your attention to follow the breath. With each out breath, allowing the body to become even more still, more relaxed. Let us not resist any distractions in the body, or sounds, or thoughts. Simply notice them. use them as reminders of things that are happening now, because now is the only time and place we are asked to be. So should there be a distraction, simply notice without judgment, without resistance, and return to the breath. Notice the inflow, the outflow, and the points of stillness between each breath. Let the breath center us. Let us acknowledge that compassion springs from love, and love cannot coexist with fear. Let us acknowledge that we are triggered and become afraid. Let us set an intention to recognize when we are triggered, when we are afraid, and to breathe beyond the fear, to center in love. This is the spiritual work that is required of each and every one of us to bring about the transformation of ourselves and the world. To breathe beyond the fear and center in love, so that we may offer compassion to the world and to ourselves. Breathe beyond the fear into love. The fear may feel real, but it is ultimately an illusion. Only love is real. So let us ground ourselves in the affirmation, I am love, I live from love. I am love, I live from love. As we sit in the silence for a few moments, on the in-breath, affirm, I am love. And on the out breath, I live from love. I am love. I live from love. For a few moments in the silence. I am love. I live from love. Let this be our guiding principle each and every moment. Remembering to breathe beyond the fear and center in love. Living from the heart to the heart of all those around us. So as we bring ourselves from the silence back to full awareness, let us do so remembering to live heart to heart.
God bless us all. Heart to heart, we're making it heart to heart. In the web of life, heart to heart. Wake up to sharing this love. Share voice to voice. We're bringing it voice to voice. All of creation, voice to voice. Sing out to share in this love. Share. Beating God's own drum. to heart. We're making it heart to heart in this web of life. Heart to heart. Wake up and share in this love. Share hand to hand. We're bringing it hand to hand across the great divide. Hand to hand with the bravest teaching. Share in this love. Share. Beating God's own drum. Beating God's own drum. Spirit rising. Spirit is rising, rising. Spirit is rising. Spirit rising.
Oh, absolutely beautiful. Thank you, guys. Good to have you back, Lynn. Missed you. Oh my goodness. So it's been quite a week, hasn't it? For a whole lot of reasons. But it's been quite a week, and we seem to be having these it's been quite a week sort of weeks recently. I don't know if any of you watched the presidential debate, but my takeaway was, yeah, that happened. And then just recently, we received the news that our president has contracted COVID. And regardless of where you stand politically, I want to say that I've been holding a heartfelt intention of prayer and healing and wholeness for the president and his wife and all those who have been contracting this virus. Regardless of where you stand on the unfortunate politicizing of this pandemic, it's clear that none of us want any of us to be having to endure this disease that has claimed so many lives around the world, that has caused us to upend our lives in the way that we have. So healing prayers for them all. And it occurred to me today as we were continuing our journey on Gary Zukav's book, Spiritual Partnerships. The emphasis on the book is the idea that spiritual growth comes about when the frightened parts of us are triggered, and rather than seeking to change the outside circumstances to try and stop those frightened parts from feeling the pain, we challenge the frightened parts and discover where what they're leading us towards, so that then we can live from the loving parts of ourselves. In that way, we start to dissipate the power that the frightened parts of ourselves have, and we live from the loving parts of ourselves. And in so doing, create authentic power. That's the whole goal here, to create and live from a place of authentic power. And we do this for each other. We trigger each other, we support each other, and that's how we grow. But it occurred to me really, an obvious thing that's been in front of my face this whole time that I probably wasn't able to articulate right now, but we've all been triggered. The frightened parts of ourselves have been triggered on an ongoing basis for the last 6 months with this coronavirus, right? So depending on who you are, the frightened part of yourself around your health has been triggered, around the health of a loved one. The frightened part of yourself has been triggered maybe to be angry with those who won't wear their mask and stay indoors. Or maybe you've been triggered and been angry about how this has become a political issue when it's a health issue. Perhaps you've been triggered and fear as a business owner or someone who's lost their job, that it's not coming back anytime soon, and you're afraid because your finances have been taking a hit. And perhaps for some of you it's trigger the frightened part of yourself as you stand in line at a food pantry. Perhaps you've been triggered to anger because you feel other people should be doing other things and they're not doing them, and it looks like they're acting from fear. And for the last 6 months, the frightened parts of us have been triggered by this virus in one way or the other. It's been relentless, and it's been a challenge to truly be in this time living from the loving parts of ourselves. I get it. I feel it too. I feel it too. And this is why it's an opportunity for us. As much as it's difficult to see it as that, it is an opportunity for us. And this is what this journey of spiritual partnerships is all about aligning our personality truly with the soul of us, to realize that in these last 6 months, it may have been really challenging to be happy, but that happiness is a result of the outside circumstances we can't control. We never been able to control them. We certainly haven't been able to control them more in the last 6 months. But to step beyond that and realize that it's truly joy that we want to experience. Joy is what sustains us. Happiness is about changing the outside circumstances. Joy is about changing ourselves. And we can only feel and live from joy when we travel into those deepest parts of the frightened parts of ourselves with an intention to heal them. Last week, we talked about 2 of spiritual partnership guidelines. And these guidelines are, he describes them as effective, easy to use ways to create authentic power. I like to say, yeah, simple and easy, not the same thing. So it's been a challenge. But we talked about commitment last week to make spiritual growth our highest priority. And we also talked about the courage to stretch ourselves beyond the limited perspective of the frightened parts of our personality. If you missed last week's talk, head over to YouTube, find our Unity on the River channel and check it out. In fact, revisit all the previous talks in this series. And if you haven't had a chance to get the book yet, please get the book. Read the book, because I'm not covering every minutia in the book. It's just not enough time. But read the book, revisit the talks, and sort of use these as maybe a way to realize that while it is challenging to be in these 6 months of a constant triggering of the frightened parts of ourselves, it's also a golden opportunity to live from the loving parts of ourselves. So today we're going to talk about the other 2 spiritual guidelines, compassion and conscious communication and actions. So let's start with compassion. And compassion is, in this context, when we choose to see ourselves and others as really souls who sometimes have the frightened parts of their personalities triggered and active. It's the truth. Often when we see others angry with us or doing things we don't like or disagree with, we respond in anger, we respond in blame, we also respond in distancing ourselves from them. But the idea is to realize that they too have been frightened just as we are. And our work is to support them and support ourselves in the triggering that happened to us. Compassion is an aware and fully present state of being. And sometimes we confuse compassion with empathy or sentimentality. Compassion comes from the loving parts of ourselves. Empathy, interestingly enough, as he defines it, really isn't compassion. He talks about empathy as this natural ability to recognize the experiences of others as our own and feel close to them as a result. The thing with that is that could be both positive and negative experiences. So we might feel empathy by seeing someone being frightened, and it triggers the frightened parts of us, and then we connect frightened part to frightened part and continue to trigger the frightened parts and have them be active in our lives. So that's not really true compassion. And when we get into sentimentality, sentimentality is when we feel a sort of desire for a time that's gone. In other words, sentimentality pulls us out of our current experience. If you feel yourself longing for what was, whether it was what was 6 months ago or 6 years ago, if you feel yourself or hear yourself saying, wish we could go back to the time when, or you find yourself blaming others for it's not what it used to be, that's sentimentality. And that's really a disconnected, fear-based fantasy, because what's happening right now is triggering the frightened part of yourself. So let's go back to the time when my frightened part wasn't triggered. That's sentimentality. Neither of those two things, sentimentality or empathy, are really compassion. That's coming from our 5 sensory experience, not the loving parts of ourselves. So let's look at some of these more specific compassion guidelines to help us create authentic power. And the first compassionate guideline is the idea of changing our perspective from fearful to loving. Now, here's the thing. When we feel emotions, we just can't change them at will. So if you feel an emotion, sadness, anger, shame, blame, grief, when you feel these emotions, you just can't switch them off like that. That's virtually impossible, right? They are what they are. They come up, we feel them. But here's what we do have power over. We can choose what to do when those emotions show up. So the emotions can show up and we can choose to act from them, the frightened parts of ourselves, or again, we can realize that our true spiritual work is to explore other options, not to keep being grounded in the frightened part. So as we shift our perspective from judging to appreciation, or from resentment to forgiveness, it's realizing that the frightened emotions will come up, we can feel them, but we can still choose to act from a loving part of ourselves while those frightened emotions are still there. The other compassion guideline is releasing the distance that we feel from others when a frightened part of our personality is active. So again, someone does something we don't like or we don't agree with, so we choose to distance ourselves from them. And we create that distance by classic case of projection. So for example, it's the idea of what those people, they, them, are doing that we don't like, that we need to distance ourselves from, is truly also a frightened part of our own personality that we don't want to acknowledge in ourselves. They are reminding us about those parts of us that we want to ignore the pain of. Gary Zukav writes that the degree of repulsion that you feel from someone is a measure of how much you do not want to recognize in yourself what you think you see in the other. I think it was Jung who coined this phrase as projection, Carl Jung. But that's what it is, right? All the lists of the reasons why they are wrong and you don't want to be connected with them are really reflections of those parts of ourselves that we don't want to acknowledge, that we don't want to take a look at, that we don't want to heal, that we feel we are superior to them. Remember, we talked about superiority and inferiority a few talks ago. So let's do this right now. Think of someone right now that you feel distant from, whether someone you actually know or someone in the news or in the media or someone you heard about. Just bring one person to mind. Just bring one person. And what is it about them that you don't like? What is it about that person that you really don't like? Whether it's a true trait or it's an imagined trait, perhaps you heard it about them. Hashtag gossiping. But what is it about them that you don't like? And are you willing to be open to the idea that those are the same things about yourself that you don't like? Can we be honest to ask ourselves, don't I exhibit those traits as well? Even if not outwardly, inwardly? Because when we can acknowledge that, then we can begin to bridge that distance that we've created. Because that's not connectedness at all. So we've changed our perspective. We've begun to release the distance. And the third guideline for compassion is to be present, be fully present, especially when others are speaking. You know, we have this habit of talking with others, and rather than truly listening, we already formulating our answer about how we're going to reply. We already judging what they're saying and grading it. Gary Zukav writes that being present to others is required in order to enter our life consciously. Because if we're not fully present with them, our mind and our heart's somewhere else. We're daydreaming, we're being preoccupied by something else. Maybe we're anticipating and being fearful of what we think they might be saying, and so we're ready in our response. When we're not fully present, it means a frightened part of ourselves has been activated and we're trying to get away. Be fully present. Listen. Be comfortable with the silence. Don't feel the need to fill the space in a conversation all the time. When we do these things, we begin to live from that place of compassion, which is truly about caring about others enough to use our understanding of spiritual growth to help them and ourselves, to see their pain, to see that the frightened parts of themselves are active, and to help support them in living from the loving parts, from the joy parts, and realize that we're doing the same work for ourselves too. That's what spiritual partnerships is all about. So let's move on to the next guideline, which is conscious communications and actions. And I love what he says. He says, you cannot become spiritually evolved and remain in the control of the frightened parts of your personality because they create unconscious and unloving interactions. Let me read that again. You cannot become spiritually evolved and remain in the control of frightened parts of your personality because they create unconscious and unloving interactions. There are many spiritually evolved people who are very angry, seek to blame, and try to manipulate things outside of themselves and circumstances. They're after what he calls in the book, not authentic power, but personal power. So That's not spiritual growth. That's living from the frightened part of yourself. And our work is to realize that and shift it so that now we are creating conscious and loving interactions. And I love this term. He says, when we do that, we become spiritual activists like Gandhi. And we become unrestrained by fear and free of the need to punish the villains. By the way, there really are no villains. We create the villains in our mind. We label people as villains because they're different from us. We don't agree with them. They've done a thing we felt caused us pain and harm. Remember last week, the line that he said, just embrace the fact that all of our emotional distress, we caused it ourselves. No one outside of us has that power. We caused it. This is also why in previous talks I've talked about how dismantling all the isms, racism, sexism, homophobia, all the isms and the obias, the phobias are spiritual work, because it's about when we dismantle these, it's about creating loving and conscious interactions. May we all be spiritual activists in this way. So, what are the guidelines for conscious communication and action? First, consult our intuition. We talked about intuition before, and how those of us who are seeking to create authentic power, not external power. I said it was personal power before, external power. Those of us who are looking to create authentic power, we live from our intuition. We consult it. We ask questions and we listen for an answer. And these answers, if you're practicing your intuition, they don't always come as we would expect them in straightforward ways. An important thing to remember that these intuitive insights, they're not directives, instructions, commandments. It's not about here's what you should do or shouldn't do. What these intuitive insights do is lead us to a deeper sense of creativity, to see options we might have missed, and also make us fully aware of the consequences of our words and our actions. So that's the first step, consulting our intuition. The second step is to choose our intention before we speak or act. Choose our intention. Why? Because intention is the fundamental creative act. Everything comes from intention. Every action, every word that we speak, that we do, it has an intention behind it. You may not be conscious of the intention, but it's there. And that intention is either coming from a frightened part of ourselves or a loving part of ourselves. And if you're not sure what your intention is, before you speak, before you act, take a breath and ask yourself, what's my motivation here? What's my motivation? Is it to protect myself? Is it to avoid this difficult moment? Is it to judge, to control? Is it to be right? Those are all frightened parts of ourselves. Is your motivation to connect at the deepest of deepest levels? Is your motivation to heal a frightened part of yourself? What's your intention? What's your motivation? And then when you choose your intention, because you have a choice in where you come from, when you choose your intention, then act from the healthiest part of your personality that you can access in that moment. He writes this: choosing to act from a loving part of your personality while you are feeling the painful sensations of a frightened part is the moment of traction on the spiritual path. It's where the rubber meets the road, folks. Choosing to act from a loving part of your personality while you are feeling the painful sensations from the frightened part of your personality. That's it right there. That's the spiritual growth. That's creating the experience in life we want to have. That's our third unity principle. That's where it begins to shift. Sometimes we feel like we've got to feel a certain way before we can act a certain way. No, No, we can feel the pain of the frightened part and choose to speak and act from a loving part of our personality. So we've consulted our intuition, we've chosen our intention, we are deciding to act from the healthiest part of our personality. And then when we act or speak, we do so personally and specifically instead of generally and abstractly. What do I mean by that? We use more I statements instead of they or you. We internalize it rather than externalize it. This is how we take responsibility for our words and our actions. Listen to your speech. When you speak, is it really more they did this? You did this. Why don't they do this? How could they do that? Or is it more when this happened, I felt? This is an invitation into what we call compassionate communication or nonviolent communication. When this happened, I felt, I guess, afraid. I felt threatened. I felt like I might lose you. I felt like I was lost. I statements, taking responsibility. And then finally, releasing attachment to the outcome. And this is perhaps one of the most challenging things for those of us who like to be in control. Because remember, the only reason we try to control the things outside of ourselves is because we believe they will make us feel safe. No one in control make us think that we are safe. It's not true, because we realize we ultimately can't control anything. So when we release attachment to the outcome, what we're basically doing is, that familiar phrase, we let go and let God. We trust the universe. We realize that when we practice all the other guidelines, when we commit to the spiritual growth, we are in a flow of creativity that will work in our favor. And we may not see the steps ahead of us, but that's what faith is about. Trusting and moving forward, knowing that the outcome will be for our highest and best, even if we can't see it, even if it's an outcome we didn't imagine. Because we human beings, we tend to think we know what's best for us. And the truth is, we don't have a clue. We don't have a clue. And that frightens us. And we seek to conquer the fear through control. This is our spiritual work. To keep experiencing, finding, and healing the frightened parts of ourselves. And there's no moment when we don't have that opportunity, because there's always something out there that causes us to be a little afraid or a lot afraid. And as I said at the beginning, for the last 6 months, this coronavirus and all we've had to do to respond to it, and all that we've lost because of it, and all that we are afraid might still happen because of it, triggers us each and every day that we're reminded about it. And there's no way to forget it. There's no way to avoid it. And some of us, we do our best to check out from it. Guilty as charged. When this first started, spend a lot of hours in my free time with Netflix, because I just needed to not face it, because it frightened me too much. But this is the opportunity for us to use this time to create authentic power within ourselves and the world. We got to trust that the compassion and wisdom of the universe is visible and available for us in all circumstances and all times, that we are the very omnipresence of God, and we have all within us to dismantle the power of the frightened parts of ourselves and live from the loving parts of ourselves. We get to relax into that trust, into the partnership we have with the universe and with each other to challenge and support ourselves. Let us do our best in each and every moment to create authentic power. And last but not least, even though this may sound like a crazy idea, enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself, because when we truly live from that place of creating authentic power, when we live from the loving parts of ourselves, we are no longer dependent on anything outside of ourselves to create happiness. We live from joy, and things fall into place without us having to work to make it happen. We can enjoy the ride no matter what the scenery is. So that's my invitation to you this week, to continue to live from all four of these spiritual partnership guidelines, from commitment to making spiritual growth your highest priority, the courage to stretch yourself beyond the limited perspective of what those frightened parts of yourself want to lead you into, from compassion as seeing yourself and others as truly souls who've been frightened and acting from fear, and to be very conscious in your communication and your actions. Because that's how we become spiritually evolved. And that's how we change ourselves, heal ourselves, and change the world. And when we live from that place and we realize that every single moment in our lives is a holy moment. It is a holy moment. It's a holy opportunity. It is the opportunity for us to show up as the divine. So I'm going to turn it over to the boys in the shed to remind us and anchor us in that truth that indeed everything is holy now.
When I was a boy each week, Sundays we would go to church and pay attention to the priest. He would read the holy word and consecrate the holy bread, and everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. When I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two, Jesus made the water wine. And I remember feeling sad that miracles don't happen still, but now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Wine from water is not so small, but an even better magic trick, 'cause anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but find them where there isn't. But holy water was rare at best, barely with my fingertips. Now I have to hold my breath like I'm swimming in a sea of it. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down. But now I walk with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. meet a questioning child's face, say it's not a testament, that'd be very hard to say. See another new morning come, say it's not a sacrament, tell you that it can't be done. This morning outside I stood, saw a little red-winged bird, shining like a burning bush, singing like a scripture verse. Made me want to bow my head. I remembered when church let out, how things have changed since then, 'cause everything is holy now. Yeah, it used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but now I walk with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Everything, everything, everything is holy now. Everything, everything, everything is holy now. Everything, everything, everything is holy now.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Keith. Yes, everything is holy. That includes you as well. Every one of us. So a few announcements before we wrap up today's service. Folks have been asking about if we're going to be collecting food items for the Pettingill House. Yes, we are. And you can drop those off at the church office space, 14 Cedar Street, Suite 203. I've got a couple dates that you can do that. Sunday, October 11th. I think that's going to be next Sunday from 3 to 6 p.m. And Tuesday, October 13th from 12 to 4 p.m. Bring by the food items. Come check out the space. Of course, please wear a mask when you do so. If you want a complete list of the items that Pettingill House is looking for, please go to our website, unityontheriver.org. There's a big Pettingill House banner there on the front page. There's a link. Click on that. You'll see the items. Please only bring those items. Before, when we did that, people brought those items, and then from the love of their hearts, we're bringing some other things that were not requested, and they weren't taken. So just bring what's being asked for. Eastern Region Conference is starting this week, but you can still register for it. Please use this opportunity that it's a fully virtual conference. So from the comfort of your home, you can see some amazing Unity speakers, musicians, and do some workshops. Check it out at unityeasternregion.org. Also, spirit groups have also started this week or this past week, but the groups are still open. So if you miss an opportunity to join with your fellow community people over Zoom and do some interactive fun study of Discover the Power Within You, that classic Unity book, you can still do it. All that information is on our website as well. Fun opportunity coming up this week for me. I've been asked to participate in a discussion from the Huddle Up group, which some of you may be aware of. If you're not, this is a group that Paula Esty is, what's the word I want, facilitating. And it's called Divine Intervention and Action List. And the idea is a group of us ministers are coming together to talk and about holding the high watch for our election coming up. So information about that is in the newsletter. We've been posting on social media. It's happening this Thursday, October the 8th, from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. You can watch it on Zoom. Again, we'll post a link on social media. I'll try to get it up on our website as well. It's in our newsletter, or you can just Google Huddle Up Newburyport, and we'll get some information about that as well. Some of the other speakers are Reverend Rebecca Ryan. She's a minister at Unitarian Church in Newburyport. The Shaman Mark Clopton and Heather Ensworth, who is a well-known astrologer, apparently. So I'll be part of that group, and we're going to be talking about, we again, frightened parts of us being triggered as we hear about all the things that may go wrong or happen, and contention and legal stuff around our election. So how do we stay above the fray spiritually and energetically and hold a high watch for that? We will be talking about all of that. So I hope you can watch that. Next week, I will be wrapping up this series on spiritual partnerships. And after that, I'm going to do an Ask the Minister. In case you don't know what that is, it's you get to throw questions at me and I get to respond. And I'm sure for some of you have had some one-on-one discussions with some of you, and this talk series triggered a bunch of things, and you might have some more questions about anything. There's a link on our website called Ask the Minister, or you can email me directly. If you want to be anonymous, use the website because it doesn't ask for your name or email or any information. There's just a box where you put your question in. So go to our website, click on the Ask the Minister link, and submit your question by October 15th. I won't be taking the questions live. Which I normally didn't do also when I did this at church. I, take the questions in advance so I can group together, do a little bit of research if that needs to come up, so I can answer your questions, the best possible way that I can. So that'll be on October 18th, Ask the Minister, which will be, I guess, 2 Sundays from now. If you're watching this service on Sunday morning, and please join us for virtual hospitality right after it's done, or 11 a.m., whichever comes first or second, I guess. How does that work? But we experimented with this last week, and I'm thrilled to let you know that prayer chaplains will be available to pray with you during Zoom hospitality. We're going to set up like a couple of Zoom breakout rooms so that you and a prayer chaplain can go pray in private, like you would have done if we were having service in a live space. So prayer chaplains will be available in hospitality from now on moving forward to hold your concerns or celebrations of heart in prayer as well. Join us for midweek meditation, Wednesdays, 9 a.m. and 7 p.m. All this information is on our website, in the newsletter, or sign up to get text alerts at Unity on the River. UOTR. Text UOTR to 313131. And we will send you text alerts and reminders about when all these things are happening. The other thing I want to invite you into is to join us for a new segment we're starting today called Community Corner, where we touch base with you because we've not been together for going on 6 months now, and we've not seen some of you. We don't know what's going on with some of you, and we want to hear from you. So today for Community Corner, who's here but one of our favorite people, Mickey Lucia. Mickey, how are you doing?
Oh, hello there. Hello there, Ogun. Hello, everybody. I have to say, doing good.
It's so good to see you. And I remember when I put out this invitation, I was like, I bet I know who's going to be the first person to respond and say, yeah. And sure enough, you did. And it's good to see you. I've missed you. I've missed your joy, your effervescence on Sunday morning. How have you been? Give us a quick, what's been going on with you in the last 6 months? What's been happening good in your life? Or even, if there's anything you want us to hold in prayer as a community for you.
Oh, it's been actually very interesting. I have been seeing a lot of blessings come out of this. Now, doesn't mean that stuff has not been challenging, but there's a lot of different things that have been kind of coming together for us this year between myself and my wife, Christina, with stuff that we've been able to do because of the pandemic. My job, I work from home now. I'm able to work from home because everything's in the cloud. So I don't have to be at a place where I would have to, go to an office, because that would be a big concern for me because I have elderly parents,
Yeah.
And because of COVID, I work in the healthcare industry, but I work on the media side. So I work for an organization that we have healthcare websites, and we're academic. We put out stuff about what's happening for hospital systems and health systems, and even the insurance side of stuff. So I'm part of the sales team, and there's a lot of organizations that want to put stuff out. They
Yeah.
have a lot of stuff. So our business is actually booming, to
Nice.
say, because of that, because our readership is up,
Right.
and it's all about readership, and that's what you sell. And I've been really, spending. I live in a townhouse community, and so I'm connected with my neighbors next door. We've been outside like every day. We have a little tea in the afternoon.
That's awesome.
Sometimes it's tea, sometimes it's more. But we've really connected more, and we are bringing other neighbors in from the townhouse community. So it's been really connecting a lot,
And it's probably I don't know if this was a practice that you and your neighborhood did before the pandemic, but was it a practice, or is this a new thing?
Well, we did do, we called it the veranda night. We do it like maybe once a week. Now we're
Okay.
doing it like every other day,
There you go.
and
Yeah.
it's really just connection, and it's definitely brought us closer.
And there've been a lot of interesting stories about that, about, as much as we've felt disconnected and isolated, there's stories of, as the months have gone by, like these super like micro communities springing up of people who, like, we know each other, we're trusting each other, that we're staying safe as we can. So let's get to know each other a lot better. And it's been fun to watch.
Yeah.
How's Christina? What's she been up to? She been painting any new stuff as well?
Oh my goodness gracious, she's been painting lots of stuff.
There
There's
you
something
go.
behind me. Oh yeah, no, she's got some great stuff going on. Now back in, oh my God, what month are we in? We're in October.
We in the month of never ever. I don't know what month it is.
I don't know if it
October?
was, I don't know what month it was, but a couple of months ago she did lose her sister.
Yeah, I remember
Not to
this.
COVID, not to COVID.
Yeah.
But it was time for her to go. I mean, so she's been dealing with that, but she's been doing better with that. And so she's been doing a lot of painting around that, between that.
Wonderful.
It's been weird not being able, I've lost a couple of family members, not to COVID, but it's been really bizarre. We're not able to get together and
Yeah.
honor their passing yet. And that is probably the hardest part of what we've been going through. But she's doing well. She's working on her business while she's been able to collect, because of our wonderful being able to collect for self-employed folks.
Yeah.
So she's been able to kind of work on her business and whatever. So we're very fortunate. We are very, very, very fortunate in the situation. My parents, 81, 86, we would go down there and see them every Sunday. Thank God they're healthy. We're keeping them healthy. We're doing stuff for them. They're taking it seriously.
Good.
I've become not closer with them, but it's kind of put a new focus on how frail life can be. Because
Okay.
when I first started, my biggest worry was, like, I would go shopping for her. I was doing everything for them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my good God, what if something happens? And then if it happens, I can't even go see them in the hospital.
Yeah.
That's scary. And I feel
It
so
is.
sad about that for people. And I've heard so many stories. So it's really made me, and my wife, she's realized it too, how much we have to, where we want to spend our time.
Yes. Yes. And that's one of the gifts that's come out of this for a lot of people. The real reprioritizing of their time, their intention, what's really valuable now, more so than ever. We will hold the parents, Christina, yourself, in our hearts and our prayers as you continue to, like, just navigate the feelings around the losses that you've experienced during this time. Gratitude for the gifts that you're finding during this time. And the one last thing I'm going to ask you, put you on the spot a little bit, now that you've been working from home, what's been the guilty pleasure of working from home? And when I say this, I mean, like, for some people, working from home is like, oh great, I can be in sweatpants all day. Oh great, I can, like, just head to the fridge for an ice cream snack whenever I want. I'll work on the back deck today with my feet up. rather than in the cubicle. So what's been the greatest guilty pleasure or joy that's come out of working from home?
I would have to say being able to just keep my pajamas on for a long time
There you go.
during the day if I want to. You
There you
know,
go.
basically, I haven't worn a collared shirt in such a long time, or
Yeah.
I mean, it's just all about being comfortable. I mean, I'm comfortable anyway, but it's more comfort.
I may or may not be wearing sweatpants right now.
There you go. Right.
Just
Right.
may or may not. We'll
I'd
never
have to
know.
say that. I would have
Not
to say
standing up, so we'll never know. Mickey, it's been so good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I want to encourage other folks.
Yeah.
Please connect with me. Give me a call. Shoot me an email if you want to participate in this. We want to see you, and we want to connect with you as well. Good to see you, Mickey.
You too, guys. And please, everybody, try. This is so much fun. Do this. Come on. I want to see what's going on with you.
There you go. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So as we are about to sing our peace out, we just want to remind you and thank you for continuing to financially support our community. We still have expenses. We still have bills to pay. And we also still want to do good work in the community. As always, a portion of what we brings in, we put back into our community through various service organizations. And thank you. So again, you can head over to unityontheriver.org/donate. You can text from your phone if you haven't set it up yet. Text GIVE to 833-702-4337, and you get it on your phone. And then you just pull out your phone like I'm doing right now. You open that up and you text a number, whatever number it is of the amount you want to give. You hit send, and boom, you've just made a donation. It's that quick. It's that simple. Or if you want to go old school, mail a check to our new office space, 14 Cedar Street, suite number 203 in Amesbury, Massachusetts. So that's it for today. Thank you, Mickey. Thank you, Meg. Thank you, Lynn. Good to see you. Thank you to the boys in the shed. Let us wrap up with our peace song. And for that, turning it over to Meg and Lynn. Take it away.
Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let this begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me.
And our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us.
We
are
the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
We are the love
of
The
God.
power of God protects us.
We are
the power of
And
God.
the presence of God watches over us.
We are the presence of God.
Together, wherever we are, God is. All is well.
All is
And
well.
we are
And
richly
we are
blessed.
richly blessed.
Thank you for joining us today. And if you're watching Sunday morning, see you in hospitality. Namaste.
Love you.